Hey guys, we are back with another breakdown video. This is Adesanya versus Pereira 2, and I think this fight is the best one to look at. This is Adesanya's most recent win, and probably one of his biggest wins, and also I think is a better example of what he can do to somebody who's being a little lax on their striking. Imanov, in my opinion, is a little lax when he throws punches. He kind of just box. He doesn't really kick. And Pereira is, in my opinion, a lot better than Imanov, and he ends up losing this fight. So we're gonna watch why he ends up losing this fight. So we start off the fight, both guys landing a few kicks. But the big difference that you notice between watching this fight so far and watching the previous fight that I watched, which was Imanov's last big win over Cannonier, was just the speed difference. These guys are moving so much faster, and their stances are just so much better for striking in general, and their general movements. Right here, Adesanya pumps basically like he's going to jab. He pumps like he's going to jab, and then he does. Now, he goes for a very long, what we call a half step here, and he throws the jab. Now, he's not really that close to landing, but that's still a very long jab. That shot right there, I could just see even by itself landing on Imanov pretty often, considering that Imanov kind of doesn't seem to respond to jabs. Then immediately after this, he's going to use that little technique to get the sleigh kick off right here. So he's going to kind of pump in again, he's going to pump in again, and then he's going to act like he's going for the jab but hit the calf kick instead. That little sequence right there, I can see being enough that Imanov would have a pretty hard time with it. Just have to be honest, right off the bat, when I watch these guys and then I watch Imanov, it just looks like there's really levels. I know a lot of people like to shit on Izzy, but man, Israel Adesanya is still one of the best strikers on earth. Yeah, there's pedigrees to things, right? There's a reason that he was a kickboxing champion and he was such a high level guy, and that he's had these fights with Pereira. It's not because he sucks. Here, Pereira is going to land a calf kick real fast, just like so. Izzy pumps a jab, drops the hand right after. But again, Izzy just does a good job on a step jab, even though he misses that on Pereira, who's 6'5", by the way. I don't think that's going to be something he's going to miss as often on somebody like Imanov. Right here, Pereira does a fairly okay job of checking the calf kick, and I think it actually might have bothered Izzy. Probably bothered both of them, honestly. It didn't look like a clean one for either one. They might have both kind of taken that badly, but Izzy switches his stance over, shows his hips, lots of little feints. Here, Izzy switches over to stance, and immediately Pereira goes straight to the kick on the calf again. That is just a killer, man. He just does that better than anybody else in the UFC. It's kind of crazy. Pereira lands a calf kick here again. He kind of just lulls the guys to sleep. He bounces, he looks. He just kind of shows his hands a little bit. Little bounce here and there, and then just calf. Boom. That's it. And that's all it really takes with him. It's just these little hacks he just constantly goes for. Adesanya here kind of throws a combination and then uses that to set up this leg kick as well. Adesanya's got good leg kicks too. Yeah, he's got good leg kicks and good calf kicks. I just think that Pereira kind of cornered the market on that one. He's probably just got the best calf kick in MMA. Adesanya's up there though. He definitely can get guys' legs out. So this little sequence for me is just to kind of highlight what high-level striking should look like. With high-level strikers, what you see a lot of is you see a lot of movement that is small that shows a lot. Meaning to me, or says a lot at least, right? What I notice with guys that aren't as good as strikers is all of the movements they make to fake things are very big. Everything's very large, right? It's these big motions. One, that's very tiring. Two, a lot of times the way that you look like you're going to do something, like if I'm going to throw an overhand, right? I'm going to throw a left hook, something like that. Those things need to look the same when I'm feinting them as I'm actually using them, right? So if I'm throwing a jab, right, and my full jab looks like this, right? It's just A to B, right? Then my feint needs to be that, right? So my feint, jab, feint, jab. And it should be hard to tell which one I'm doing. And these guys do a really good job of that. If you watch them move, right, there's a lot of feints that looks like things they would actually use, like right there. Adesanya feints his back hip, right? He's loose, feints his back hip. Loose, feints his back hip. Why? It's because he'll actually turn his hip to throw his kick to set up his rear cross, to set up, he'll load his jab off that or his hook. It's because that mechanic right there sets up a bunch of stuff, so it could be very hard to read. And Adesanya is doing similar stuff. You'll see Adesanya kind of bounce, right? And he'll kind of show, or he'll kind of show, or he'll kind of show his hip. And it's, again, you have to worry about these things. And they're done in such a way. It's really clean how they're just moving around right now and showing each other a lot of like little motions. But these little motions, they say so much. And the problem is when you look at these like lower level guys, especially as they get tired, Cannonier is a good example. I just did a breakdown on him with Imanov, but Cannonier is not a traditional striker, right? He's not somebody who grew up with a striking pedigree. Imanov looks like he is more so. So as the fight went on, Imanov's feints are still the same. They're still look like something that would be what he's actually going to use. And Cannonier started looking very big, right? They look like these large exaggerated motions of what he's going to do, but not how he'd actually use that to set up his strikes, right? So, his feint ends up being like this, but then his strike is like, it looks really different what his strike looks like. And again, you need to do these feints in a way that look like they actually could be something that you're going to hit somebody with. Right here, we're going to see is Adesanya throws a kind of like a 1-6, but Pereira does a really good job right here with his rear hand. So his rear hand's already pairing the jab off, and then Adesanya is going to try to come over the top to the 6. Pereira's left arm is up and framed. I'm going to highlight this, and the reason I highlight this is because Imanov ends up in a similar scenario with Cannonier in their fight, and Imanov's left hand likes to go very low, and Cannonier actually came over the top and lands. And this, right, is what stops. This is what stops it, right? So it's going to be that parry, the jab, and the left hand high, and that keeps that overhand from coming over the top, which is funny because I think that overhand is probably going to be something that Adesanya is able to land on Imanov when they face each other. Here we're going to see almost the exact same thing. Izzy steps in with a half-step jab, throws the 6 over the top, parried and blocked with the outside arm. And that's because Alex is always in this position of keeping his arms in the way. He basically steers everything, right? So it's like if you're here and you throw inside of him, he's just steering you across yourself. If you go outside of him, he's just steering you outside. And a lot of that's a build. He's 6'5". He's super long. He can get away with that a lot more. Somebody shorter, you're not going to have that same thing. But even you look at somebody like Demetrius Johnson, he's a small guy, and the way that he's parrying things is this: he's here, and when guys are throwing hooks at him, he's here. So he's doing a very similar guard. I know it may not look like it, obviously, with size difference, but it keeps you really, really safe, and it makes it very hard for somebody to come over the top. I keep highlighting this, but this is the reason that I think when Izzy faces Imanov, that he is going to probably go for that strike. He's probably going to go for like a 1-6 or like a really hard 1-2, because Imanov's lazy with his lead arm, and Imanov just fades straight back, right? He just pulls out of everything, and Izzy's long and fast, so I don't think that's going to be easy to do. Imanov doesn't move his head off center line, and he drops his lead arm. So I just think the rear hand's going to be there. Here you're going to see Pereira dip in for a nice little hard body shot with the jab there. That's a good shot because it's basically like right below kind of the nipple, like right on the rib here. And the reason you might want to do something like that is because what it's going to do really well is it's going to get a lot of guys to stop thinking about their legs, right? If you kind of hit people, if somebody's body's moving away, they're kind of moving their body away from getting hit. Like I get hit in the stomach and I kind of move my hips away. I tend to put my face and my legs out, right? And so what you're going to see here is this is going to help him kind of set up a little calf kick right there. And nothing crazy, but it's just an easy little technique. We're in on you. Boom, I pop that body really hard. A lot of times you get body shot like that. You kind of put your body behind everything else, and then all of a sudden your legs are available. And here we're going to see a sequence of a lot of the stuff that I was just talking about. You're going to see Izzy kind of try to go for kind of a little hook and then an overhand, but Pereira kind of controls it with his hands. Then Pereira's going to come back here in 2 seconds. He's going to jab the body. That's going to get Israel up, and that gets his legs out of position for the calf kick, which is a lot of what I was saying. Right after Izzy takes that calf kick, he does a really good job of actually coming upstairs with his left head kick. It's actually a really good choice. But Pereira was just really on point. He was back at his stance, hands in position. Really, really smart here. Then Izzy goes to the body, misses that body kick. Now Izzy has thrown two left kicks at this point. So what does Izzy do? He shows his hip. And he shows his hip the same way that his kick is set up, right? He shows his hip that exact way. So the feints that you do matter, and he got at least a reaction out of Pereira. Not a big one, but again, your feints need to look exactly like what you actually do. It just needs to be the beginning of whatever you're doing. So if you're doing a full roundhouse kick and it looks a certain way, then you need to do kind of the first like quarter of that roundhouse kick as your feint. Right here, one of the more impressive things I think about Pereira is that he could just calf kick off either side, and it really just doesn't make any difference. He will beat your legs up off of either one of these and then just punch you straight. That straight jab to the body just forces you upright. There's not a lot of guys that can throw a straight jab to the body hard enough to get a lot of people to kind of go, oh, that sucks, and they'll start giving up their legs. He just really takes the body out of people, right? He takes their body away, he takes their legs away, and then they have to stand in front of him. And we all know how it goes. If you stand in front of him and he can hit you with his hands, he can get a left hook or a right cross off on you. Hell, even a jab, it's over, right? So he does such a good job of just forcing guys. He funnels them in front of him, and he just rips their legs out, beats up their body, and then they have to stand in front of him. Khalil Rountree is a good example. Early in their fight, a lot of explosiveness, a lot of side to side. Stopped his calf, really on his calf, went really on his body. Khalil Rountree stopped going side to side, had to stand in front of him, started eating jabs. As soon as he started eating jabs, the fight was kind of over at that point. Here you're going to see Pereira land a leg kick. In the process of landing a leg kick, Adesanya does the smart thing. He jams it. He jams the calf kick, throws his jab, lands the first jab, misses the second, throws a two, and kind of just barely grazes that. But the big thing you see here is that when he comes through with the right hand, he switched to stance. And when he does this, he does a really hard body kick and is pretty accurate. And that hurt Pereira right there. And you could tell it hurt Pereira because whether you like it or not, this spasming in the body and this elbow dropping and guarding yourself, and then this face that he's making right here says that hurt my body. That was a good clean shot. Again, Adesanya's striking is extremely good. Here you're going to see Pereira drop in for the jab to the body. Again, that jab to the body is going to set up the calf kick once again. Jab to the body, and then calf kick is available. It's a really easy little combo. Works really, really well. And then he immediately goes to it again and lands it again. And at that point, Adesanya switches the stance for obvious reasons. His lead calf, starting to get pretty beat up. So here I think is a good strategy from Adesanya to try to go to those body kicks from the opposite stance, come across. You know that Pereira is not going to shoot, right? So you don't really need to worry about him dropping in and like blast doubling or running through that. So Pereira tends to just exit out on these kinds of kicks. So this is a pretty free shot as long as Pereira doesn't jam it and like crack you. If you use it too many times, obviously, and he just comes forward and hits you, that's a problem. But honestly, I think it was pretty well set up. Here you see a pretty telling statistic. Pereira has 13 of 17 of his leg kicks. Adesanya has 5 of 6. Both these guys are eating leg kicks. The difference is just the numbers. Pereira has more than double what Adesanya has, and most of those are on his calf. That's a lot in the first round. Honestly, I remember watching this and thinking, Jesus, like Pereira is kind of fucking up Adesanya. Here you're going to see another outside calf kick from Pereira. That'll be on the left side here. Bang. And then into a head kick. Nice pull. Fade away from Adesanya, but he still took the calf kick, just adding to the number of calf kicks that Pereira's already landed in this fight so far. Here, Pereira does a really good job. He just does a really sneaky little jab. He just takes a little step forward, little punch right to the mouth, and then an outside calf kick. Pereira does always a good job. He just floats his jab, and he just sticks it out. He just puts it straight out into your face. I think that's underrated. A lot of these guys try to have this fancy jab. They try to, and they try to sneak it in. But there's something to be said for simplicity when you're 6'5" and you hit like a truck. You could just stand in front and then just float, bang, and you're just putting it out in front of you, like straight out in front of you, right? I just think it makes it so easy. And then again, what do? Right? You get popped in the face. What at first thing happens, you're like, oh, I don't want that. Your legs are out in front of you now, right? So the calf kick is going to be there. Here, Pereira is using a lot of pressure, which I think is really good. Adesanya does something smart here. He kind of fakes the back leg and then actually goes for the back leg. And since Pereira has been hit to the stomach once with that back roundhouse kick, he had to respect it enough to actually back out, and that gives Adesanya some space here. Right after that, Pereira touches hands and goes straight to a calf kick again, just adding to the overall number of calf kicks that Pereira ended up landing in this fight. in just the first round. Just the first round alone, so many. And he gets off one more right before the end of the bell, which just adds to the total. And to me, I was watching this again. I'll say this, but it just looked like it was going to be such a runaway for Pereira at this point. He had kind of already messed up Adesanya's left calf, so his back calf at the moment, and he was working on the front one here. Adesanya does not have very thick calves to begin with, and has had problems with Pereira's calf kicks and body punches, the jab to the body in the past. So I was like, man, this is looking pretty rough for a first round for Adesanya. Right away, Adesanya fights lead hand, comes out, fakes the rear, and then goes straight to the rear kick. So he fakes the hip, goes for the kick. Why do I think he was doing this? I think he was partially trying to occupy Pereira's rear hand. Also, I think he was trying to put him into a position where Pereira was going to react to the kick over and over again by bringing his hands down, and Adesanya could fake his hip. Pereira would react, and Adesanya could come over the top with the left crossed here. I think that's what he was trying to set up in this situation. What you're going to see here is a plethora of rear side techniques from Adesanya. He's going to show the inside leg kick here, or hit the inside leg kick here, rather. He's going to fake the rear leg again, so you don't know if it's his rear hand or if it's kick. Comes up with the question mark kick to come around again, and then comes with the rear teep. This is smart. All this stuff's really smart. When you switch stances on somebody and do the opposite stance of them, you tend to eliminate lead sides a lot, right? Because what happens here is your lead arm and their lead arm, both the jabs, kind of nullify. So you end up running your hands into each other constantly, and then your lead leg and their lead leg also tend to nullify, right? So it's hard to get your leg to the outside of theirs and vice versa. So you end up doing a lot of rear side technique, which in this case is probably a little more ideal because Adesanya is getting calf kicked and jabbed to the body. So if you switch your stance like this, it makes it a little more difficult to do those things, right? It's harder to throw a lead side calf kick than it is to bring the right leg or the rear leg around and hit their leg out in front. It's harder to throw a jab to the body on the opposite stance. It's not. It shouldn't say that. It's not harder necessarily, but it's easier to get countered, right? Because the problem becomes now you're dipping in. Well, when this arm dips in and punches to the body here, right? His lead arm can throw a hook at you and catch you in the process. So this is why Adesanya, I think, switching a stance like this is smart. Also, I think it's smart for him to keep using his rear side like this in multitude of ways, so it's hard to set up. And what he's not doing is throwing his left hand very often. And the reason I think that is, again, is I think he wants to land his left hand. I think he wants to land the rear hand. He wants to fake, get Pereira to overreact to kicks, and then come right down the pipe with his left cross. But immediately after that, here's the problem. So when you've switched your stance, you also put yourself in the crosshairs to get hit with rear side techniques as well, easier. And what's going to happen here is Pereira does almost the same thing, except he actually kind of catches Adesanya there. And Pereira kicks very hard. We were very aware that he can calf kick people barely and take their calves out. So you can imagine what like Pereira's size fucking 14 foot coming up and slap you in the face feels like. It probably feels like you got hit in the face with a piece of stone. And so Adesanya reacts, I would imagine, accordingly, slides back. But he definitely didn't like that at all, and kind of does the running back side to side juke and gets a body kick in the process, but jab to the body here, cross, almost gets fucking clipped on the way in on that, and probably does one of the smarter things he could do here is just, yeah, we're not exchanging here, buddy. I'm gonna clinch with you. Adesanya's hurt here, pressed against the cage at this point. Nice little jab from Adesanya. Eats a left hook from Pereira, and then eats a jab from Pereira. And again, when I was watching this, I was like, holy shit, man, Adesanya is getting fucking worked. Because the shots that he's landing on Pereira just don't seem to be making any difference, even when he does land. The cleanest thing he really landed in that was a jab. But when he's getting hit clean with like heavy shots. And I was really surprised a few of these shots didn't do more damage or enough damage to at least drop him. And right here, you'll see Adesanya is going to fake his rear side, and Pereira reacts big. Big reaction right there. But Pereira's smart and just goes, okay, well, I'm not going to let you lead that, so I'm going to make you react to my rear side. Throws a rear roundhouse kick. Adesanya catches it well enough, and at least you didn't put himself into a position of just going, okay, well, I'm just going to react big and not do anything else. It's not always the worst idea if you react big to kind of go, I'm going to come at you, to make them kind of feel like, hey, I know I got the reaction I wanted from the feint, but I also need to worry about the aggression coming right after they might just go, oh, I failed, but fuck it, let's come forward. I messed up, right? Like if somebody chooses to jab at me and I over parry one time, right? If I know I'm struggling on their jab, I might just like be really aggressive and come back at the same time, because you got to do something, right? You can't just keep biting on feints, and so if you can't reflexively always know when the feint is a feint versus an actual technique, sometimes the move is just, if I bite on a feint, I need to just be aggressive right away back to at least make them scared to come in. Pereira goes for the body here and then slips off a overhand return. Again, that little body shot and then over the top with the right hand. Man, Pereira was just really on point all night up until he's not. Body shot again there. Eats a jab, but gets a left hook off. Adesanya throws a cross back. Nice body shot there. A calf kick again. Pereira again fights hands here. When he touches hands, he realizes he can get the calf kick off. And back to the calf kick again. And we go to the jab to the body again. And a hard jab from Pereira. And again, Pereira just hits so fucking heavy that like even just those little jabs really matter. And Pereira does a much better job. He just keeps his left hand up, and when guys come in for that overhand, he just blocks it. He just comes around, blocks it, and rolls away from it. Good body kick from Adesanya there. Again, trying to set that up over and over again. And the outside calf. As soon as Pereira touches the front hand, he just knows he can hit the outside calf, and he does it again there. And Adesanya almost decides, I'm going to have to switch stances. Then he goes, no, I'm not going to switch stances. I refuse. But you can tell it's hurting him. And then Adesanya up with the head kick. Nice pull from, or I'm sorry, Pereira up with the head kick. Nice pull from Adesanya. Good inside leg kick from Adesanya. So they just put up a little icon at the bottom. It says leg kicks from Pereira. 21 was his previous best. He's landed 24. That is a lot, considering that they're only 9 minutes in, basically 8 minutes into this fight so far, of a championship fight. This is one of those ones where it's like, again, Adesanya wins this fight, but man. It's hard. It's hard to watch, because when you rewatch this, it's just Pereira pretty much dominates until he loses. Then they get into an exchange here, and Pereira just does a pretty good job on his defense overall. A nice little jab to the body, and his pressure is very high at this point. He is pressuring a lot in this fight, cutting off Adesanya constantly, forcing him on the outside of that little black octagon at the bottom there. Pereira just keeps his hands up, kind of takes a little bit of body shots there, and looks for the calf kick, but misses. It hits that one. And we are 25 now. And there's the cross that Adesanya has been looking for, but just isn't really there. And Pereira just kind of pulls just out of range. So why do we not cross our feet normally when we throw strikes coming forward? It's because if you get parried, you can get parried your whole body into the other hand. So right here, you'll see Adesanya froze his left cross he's been looking for, but he gets parried, right? So his arm goes all the way across, which would be fine if his back foot was behind him, because his body would be in the way of this punch. But instead, he kind of ends up eating this little hook right there in the middle of that, right? Because he basically walked straight into it. So again, this is usually why when you throw punches, you don't really want to cross your feet. You just want to cross your body, right? And this is one of the reasons why you can get parried into the other hand and then almost eats a right hand there on the exchange. And again, Pereira just looks so fucking sharp tonight, man. He was just catching a lot of these little shots. And again, we're right back to Pereira just cutting him off constantly. Just the pressure cuts him off. Outside calf kick, and Adesanya eats that one badly and then covers up. And here he's looking like he's starting to fade pretty bad. He has to switch his stance there. He's forced back into this position. Good body kick, and then Pereira decides, I'm not going to eat that, and I'm going to return. He goes right back. Good calf kick again, and Adesanya's legs are cooked. Now, here is basically the end of the fight. And honestly, if Pereira had just waited this out a little bit longer and just let it go to the third, fourth round, I just don't see Adesanya winning this. Like, I'm watching this fight and I'm thinking, like, if it just kind of was this pace for the rest of the fight, Pereira's fucking him up. And like, Pereira's shots just matter so much more. Pereira does something really smart here. Adesanya basically completely squares, covers up, and is in a horrible stance here, right? Again, we don't want our shoulders on the cage. We don't want our hips on the cage like this. We never want ourselves, if you think of a shooting range and you go to a shooting range and they have a cutout of a person, that person's always standing directly at you. That is not how we want to stand at people. We want to be as small of a target as possible. So if I'm fighting the camera here, I'm going to be like this. I don't want you guys to see my whole fucking body towards you like this, right? If you're hitting me like this is a problem, right? I want to be behind my shoulder. Good hard body shot. Honestly, that shot drops a lot of guys in the UFC. Adesanya's tough. Say what you will about all the weird shit that he does, the weird way he dresses, the fucking cringy way he acts, the weird jerking off to anime, jerking off his dog, all the weird shit. But he can fucking fight. He really can. So we get a hard body shot here. Pereira looking for a nice hard knee there, which really does land. And again, a lot of these shots just, I think, drop a lot of guys in the UFC. Just ends their night. And we're here 3. And this is where Pereira gets lazy, right? Pereira threw the left hook here and then comes back. Adesanya inside the guard, right? He eats the left hook like this, comes back with his hand. So he's coming back with his left hand here, throws the overhand, bang, and that's the shot right there, man. And that shot is a fucking great return. That is a super solid counter, like super solid, especially from somebody like that, right? So we're here. I'm looking at you. I eat this shot off my arm. Bang. And Adesanya rolls with that shot and returns his left hand. That stiff arm sets up that right hand over the top. Boom, right over the top. And this face says, oh, fuck, I fucked up. And this is really the end of it. And if I recall, Adesanya, I believe, just throws a left hooker. I think he misses it and then throws the right hand again. And he throws, and then bang, that's the second shot. Yep. And he's out, man. And that's a hard shot. And that is a huge victory. And, to be honest, a pretty cool celebration at the end. I will give him that much. That is a crazy, crazy, crazy win from Adesanya. And well deserved, man. Well deserved. He was fucking losing that whole fight, though, if we're just being honest, right? So if we kind of look at Adesanya's recent career, it's very much been, he lost his fight to Pereira. He won this fight, but was losing. Then he loses to Strickland, and then he loses to DDP. I believe that is exactly the order that went in. That is kind of where he's at. So he's on a bit of a losing streak too. So they kind of gave him a guy that I think is a bit of a layup in Imhoff. Can never say his name right. Imanov. I can't say his name, but they kind of gave him a layup in that one, in my opinion. Imanov just boxes. He doesn't really kick. He doesn't change stances. He doesn't wrestle. Adesanya has some losses, but they're against the top of the top guys. And frankly, man, his striking's still fucking great. Like really, really high level. Anyways, hope you got something out of that, guys. I appreciate you watching. If you liked it, please like it. If you subscribe, that would help me a lot. That's pretty much it. Hopefully some guys got some things out of that. I appreciate it today, guys. Thank you so much.